Hello, John.
Hello, hello.
Today we're going to talk about a few well-meaning ministers in the government that are talking about going to North Korea.
That's right. I'll just show you this cartoon. It shows John Halligan, Shane Ross and
Just hold it up there, John, we can't really see it.
Mr. Mc Grath in a cartoon, and John Halligan is saying to the North Korean leader, Yang Sung-moon, or whatever he calls himself, I shouldn't really be asking you this, he says to this North Korean lad is letting off rockets morning, noon and night.
Rocket man.
Maybe he can't get onto the rocket himself and take it to space. Anyways, he's saying this. I shouldn't really be asking you this because John Halligan come under fire and a lot of people for some reason was asking him to resign. He asked an applicant for a job as private secretary, which would involve long hours and late hours and all sorts, because these ministers sometimes have to work weekends and night time and all the rest of it. They don't get much credit for it, but in any event, he was interviewing this lady. She was, I understand, an executive officer in the civil service, which would be a very well paid job. You're probably talking about 100,000 a year or something of that calibre, so a married lady. But he said, when he was interviewing, he said, no, maybe I shouldn't ask you this, he says, but are you married? And oh, yes. And have you got children? Two. Oh, well, you must be busy, he says to her, and with the children. And this job, he was asking to sort of tell her that the job was going to be long hours. But in any event, she didn't get the job, and she complained that the qualifications for the job, she shouldn't have been asked whether she was married and her children, because normally that's a reasonable question to ask if you're going to have long hours and awkward hours. But it caused offence, and she was awarded 7,500 by some equality tribunal or some tribunal. Don't ask me who it was, but in any event, awarded her that, which I think was wrong. Because if you can't ask a person a simple question and it has to be misconstrued in the way that it was in this case, it doesn't seem to me to make sense. And they were howling for his resignation in the media and making a song and dance about nothing. In other words, a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, the fact that this lady looked for compensation or criticism of this minister, I think it was myself, John Malone's opinion is that it was very peculiar to be awarded compensation for a simple question that would be to put a person at their ease and to sort of try and get the picture. Because when you're going to give a job, like, you want to get a picture. But apparently now you can't ask a person his age. So I could perhaps apply for a job which would be more suitable for a 40-year-old, but when I applied to that'd be my age, so I could appear there.
You look 40, John, I have to say that, okay?
Well, I feel that.
You feel that?
Up here.
I just want to ask you, are you still going for your swim? You like to swim in the sea?
I do. As a matter of fact, I had a few swims in the summer there in this country, in this country. But we had a few fine days, believe it or not, and we can remember them because they were short, they were few and far between. But we swam when we were abroad on holidays, and we had a good few swims in the sea. I like the sea. I don't swim in swimming pools or anything like that because there's too many people using it. Whereas the sea, well, there's not that many people. And that's why we swim.
What do you think of these lads going over to have a chat with the dictator in North Korea?
Well, I see nothing wrong with it whatsoever, although they were criticised and abused for their efforts, and I think then they declined. As a matter of fact, John Halligan, Shane Ross and Mr. Mc Grath, he's a member of the I think that's his name, he's also a minister in the government, and the three of them were prepared to go over there and talk to this North Korean dictator and see if they could talk sense to him. And I presume they could. What was wrong with it? I mean, if you're going for a good reason and to try and do something. Oh, why, what's wrong with that? They were criticised for it, and I think now they've chosen not to go, but I would urge them to go, or any other minister that thought he might be able to go and talk and perhaps try and put a bit of sense into this North Korean leader.
What about John Malone joining them?
Well, I certainly, if ever got an invite, I'd be more than happy to go, although I'm not aware that Mr. Yankee Moon or the dictator in that country,
Kim Jong, yeah.
Kim Jong, I'm not aware that he might welcome Catholics and Christians, but perhaps he might. We don't know, because I'm sure a lot of the news is censored or whatever it is, and you're getting a bit of propaganda. So what Mr. John Halligan, Shane Ross and the others were going to do was, to me, a very noble and a worthwhile thing. They were doing something right, and I totally agree with them.
Okay.
I don't support the media attack on them whatsoever.
Because they have been ridiculed.
Of course, and when they're ridiculed, we're ridiculed, because it kind of seems to indicate Irish ministers have no role in this area. And they made a song and dance about that they didn't get clearance from the Department of Foreign Affairs. We know what the previous incumbent, Mr. Gilmore, in the Foreign Affairs did. He certainly didn't support that kind of move. He, as I say, he closed the embassy. So these men, as far as they could see, were on a worthwhile cause, and they had to be commended.
And of course, if anybody can bring about common sense and peace and maybe even a bit of humour to the situation in North Korea, the Irish can.
Correct, and they might bring maybe a bottle of whiskey.
You never know.
Give Mr. Moon something that might soften his cough, because perhaps he's a teetotaler. We don't know what he imbibes. He's on the stout side, so perhaps he takes something. He's
maybe some stout
on a diet. So I think I'd recommend John Halligan and the others, but if they didn't see fit, that perhaps they were teetotalers, if they didn't see fit, John Malone, if he was invited, it would bring a bottle of whiskey or two to help Mr. Moon.
Kim Jong.
Kim Jong, to sort of loosen up and stop sending off rockets and causing worry to people.
That's it. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.